Considered to be one of the most reliable cars Mercedes-Benz ever produced at the time, it's safe to say you probably won't find yourself on the side of the road like this too often. So why is the W124 considered to be so reliable, and why were there over 2 million of these vehicles produced? Let's find out. This spotlight is on the 1988 Mercedes-Benz 300e, with suspension and body kit parts from a little unknown company called AMG, long before they were bought out by Mercedes. We'll be thoroughly touring this car, taking it for a drive, and going over what you need to know if you're in the market for a W124 Mercedes E-Class. Take a look at any of the Mercedes-Benz cars from the 80s, like the 1988 560 SEL we reviewed last year, and you'll quickly notice the shared design language between them. This 300e is striking from any angle, and that upgraded AMG appearance package gives this car an aggressive look. The front grille drops the egg crate design for what's commonly referred to as an S600 grille, along with Euro-style glass headlights. The front bumper gets a lower lip treatment from AMG, along with sportier side skirts, and that rear end with the embedded AMG logo along the trunk lid. Under the hood, you'll quickly notice how much room you have to work with that 3-liter inline-6 engine. The driver's door includes the seat controls and 2 memory options. The small knob on the left is for the headrest. Beside the steering wheel are the light controls and parking brake. Cruise control and turn indicators are on the left side of the steering wheel. Overall, the seats are very similar to those we found on the W126 S-Class, and space is quite generous. Along the top of the center console is the defrost button, rear headrest release, recirculated air, hazard lights, antenna control, and finally the rear passenger compartment lamp switch. This car was equipped with automatic climate control, which you can distinguish from others by the button controls beside the temperature dial. Below the aftermarket stereo is the cigar lighter and the ashtray, followed by the wood gear lever, window switches, power mirror controls, and the speaker fade control knob. You'll notice that the doors have the AMG sills when you step into the W124, along with the average rear seat space for a car of this size. Each passenger has their own window control along the door card with a cigar ashtray at the bottom, and the center armrest folds down. Now that you know about this 300e, let's get behind the wheel and get it on some pavement. I want to be able to talk about this car real quick before I overheat. I was told by the owner that the air conditioning worked when he bought it, and it doesn't work so much anymore, and that really is a common problem with the W124. So as we're going along the quicker road here, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me on the microphone before it gets a little too windy. But this car really feels a lot like pretty much any car from the 80s. I've driven quite a few of them now, and it really feels like you're driving a 30-year-old car, but not in a bad way. It's got a bit of a hum, and I'm not sure if that's just something that I did when I started it up. But overall, I mean, it feels really stable and really good for a 30-year-old car. And now I am suffocating. Oh, yeah, that gets toasty. As is the case with pretty much all of these old cars that we review, you have tons of visibility all around. The windshield's huge. You have very small A pillars and B pillars. Back window's gigantic. The only thing is the mirror's a little small. That's probably the only negative thing about this is that mirror's kind of small, so it kind of detracts from the fact that your back window is so huge. It's a little hard to see everything out of that mirror there. But other than that, it's a 30-year-old car, so I wouldn't really expect to have too much tech built into this thing. You're going to have, climate control, and that was the biggest issue. If you had climate control in these cars, that's kind of what killed it. The air conditioner compressor just couldn't really keep up with that auto climate control and blew it out. And what's interesting to note, if you're wondering just from photos if the car had AC originally, take a look at the bottom lip of the front bumper. If there's an air dam there, grates in the grill, that means it's got air conditioning. If it's a flat body panel at the bottom, never had AC to begin with. That's the easiest way to tell just from photos.
everybody talks about the AMG Hammer. Now, what that was originally was a 300e W124, and AMG, not part of Mercedes at the time, took the 5.4 liter engine out of the 560 SELs and tuned it and put it in to this kind of car and crammed it into that engine bay. And in some cases too, they could have bored out that cylinder head to get 6 liters out of it. You could have had a 6 liter V8, and that's why they called it the Hammer. So those are very rare to find. The 500Es were developed in part by Porsche and Mercedes-Benz, and the 300Es like this one were just run-of-the-mill commuter cars that you know, dentists and doctors would be buying, and some of them became sports cars. It's got a little bit of power. I mean, it's a pretty heavy car, and it's a relatively small engine, and it's 30 years old, so you can't really expect it to be a rocket ship, but it's pretty good. I'm enjoying my little drive here. It's 28.5 degrees, and the coolant is like at 85 degrees Celsius. It's amazing. Yeah, this is a nice little car. Try finding one. That's going to be your problem. If you really want this car, you're going to be searching for a long time. There's just not many of them out there. The people who have them that are in great shape kind of want astronomical prices for them. The ones that aren't in great shape will need a lot of work. And truthfully, most people are just parting these things out. People can make more money selling the parts off of these cars because there are die-hard enthusiasts out there with these cars that need parts. So what better way than to cannibalize an old one to make another one work better. Let's pull into this super rich street in Burlington and roll up the windows. I'm kind of wet now. And that is our test drive.
We covered some of the common problems during our test drive, but we'll go over the big ones now for you. As is the case with any 30-year-old car, rust is going to be a big area of concern. The doors, wheel wells, and the A-pillars are particularly troublesome, along with the front end rusting due to excessive stone chipping from years of highway driving. The window regulators can fail over time, so check if they work, and you might want to consider replacing all 4 as a preventative measure. Over the life of the car, the interior can start to wear out, like the fabric of the door cards, the pillars, the headliner, and the sunroof can also deteriorate to get stuck inside of the roof. Climate control was relatively new on the 300e, causing the condenser and blower motors to fail, which can leave you without cold air on a hot day. Mixed with broken window regulators, and you're in for a terrible summer experience. On 6-cylinder engines, the valve guides and head gasket will need to be addressed, and despite the large amount of room under the hood, the water pump and serpentine belt tensioner are difficult to access. On 93 and newer models, Mercedes switched to a biodegradable wiring harness, which, as the name suggests, degrades. You'll want to replace this with an updated wiring harness if it hasn't been done so already. And finally, given the complexity of the electronics, it could be difficult to diagnose and solve electrical issues with the W124. Despite all of this, the W124 E-Class was considered to be very reliable when it was new, and one of the reasons why there are still many of these cars in service today as taxis and commuter cars. There's still a strong enthusiast community surrounding these cars, which is a great resource for anybody interested in buying and maintaining an older Mercedes. As always, buying a vehicle with a well-documented service history and performing a mechanical inspection before purchasing is crucial, as it can help prevent unnecessary headaches. Mercedes built a bulletproof engine, dropped it in a well-designed and well-engineered chassis, and managed to sell more than 2 million of them over the course of 11 years. By comparison, BMW sold 2,040,375 E28 and E34 5 Series models, which was actually 18,402 less than Mercedes sold. The E28 went on sale in 1981, and the E34 ended production in 1996. That's 4 more years than the W124, yet less BMWs hit the streets. People loved and still love their W124 E-classes. Whether it's the middle-of-the-road 300E, the top-end Porsche assembled 500E, or the various wagons, sedans, coupes, and convertibles that fell in between, it's clear that this car was a massive success for Mercedes-Benz and is still considered to be a worthwhile car for enthusiasts to buy 30 years on. We here at Test Drive hope that you've enjoyed our spotlight on this 1988 Mercedes-Benz 300E and appreciate your likes and comments to show your support. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, we'd like to invite you to do so. That way you can stay connected with our show and the videos that we produce. If you're interested in following us outside of the weekly show format, you can like us on Facebook at /Perpetual Radio and see what we're filming next and working on weeks in advance. Until next time, bonne santé et prends soin.